Mr. Pooter and Tabby walked the dog. Chapter 1. The Lollipop. Mr. Pooter and his fine cat Tabby lived next door to Mrs. Tiberi and her small dog Zig. Mrs. Tiberi sometimes gave Mr. Pooter eggplant for his supper, and Mr. Pooter sometimes gave Mrs. Tiberi kiwis for her lunch. They were very happy living side by side. One day, Mrs. Tiberi slipped on a kiwi and hurt her foot. Mr. Pooter and Tabby took her to the doctor. The doctor said, "This foot needs a rest. No walking Zig for a week." "No walking Zig for a week," cried Mrs. Tiberi. "But who will walk my little lollipop?" She always called Zig her little lollipop. Then Mr. Pooter, who had a very soft heart, said, I will walk your little lollipop." Mrs. Tiberi was happy. But she was a little worried. "I hope he doesn't tug," she said. "Oh no," said Mr. Pooter. "Zig won't tug." "I hope he doesn't wrap around trees," she said. "Oh no," said Mr. Pooter again. "Zig won't wrap." "And I hope he doesn't chase other dogs," she said finally, "especially the big ones." "Oh no," said Mr. Pooter for the last time. "Zig is a good dog." "Zig is a fine dog." Mr. Pooter looked at the little lollipop. "Zig is a dream dog," Mr. Pooter said with a smile. Chapter 2. The Nightmare. Zig was a nightmare. The first day Mr. Pooter and Tabby took him for a walk, he tugged. He tugged and tugged and tugged. He tugged Mr. Pooter and Tabby through yards and creeks and houses they had never been through before. When Mr. Pooter and Tabby got home, they had to have some warm milk and pudding and a nap. "Zig is not a dream dog," Mr. Pooter said to Tabby when they woke up. "Zig is a nightmare." The second day, they took him for a walk. Zig wrapped around trees. He wrapped around an elm tree. He wrapped around a pine tree. He wrapped around a pear tree. And he always wrapped Mr. Pooter and Tabby with him. When Mr. Pooter and Tabby got home, they had to have some warm milk and popovers and a nap. "Zig is not a dream dog," Mr. Pooter said to Tabby when they woke up. "Zig is a nightmare." The third day, Zig chased the dogs, and he didn't chase the little ones. He chased the big ones. He chased the Russian Wolfhound. He chased the Great Dane. He chased the Saint Bernard. He chased them until they got bored with being chased. Then they turned around and chased Zig and Mr. Pooter and Tabby. The big dogs chased them through yards and creeks and houses they had never been through before. When Mr. Pooter and Tabby got home, they had to have some warm milk and shortbread and a nap. "Zig is not a dream dog," Mr. Pooter said to Tabby when they woke up. "Zig is a nightmare." And the two of them sat a long time wondering what to do. They weren't sure they could live through 4 more days with the lollipop. Chapter 3. The Dream Dog. "Here's the deal, Zig," Mr. Pooter said on the 4th day. "You be a good dog, and every day after our walk, you will get a nice surprise." Zig was a smart dog. He knew what a deal was. The 4th day, he didn't tug, he didn't wrap, and he didn't chase. He was a dream dog. So Mr. Pooter and Tabby took him to the Frosty Freeze. Zig had a hot fudge sundae with extra cherries. The 5th day, Zig didn't tug, and he didn't wrap, and he didn't chase. He was a dream dog again. So Mr. Pooter and Tabby took him to the swimming pool. He jumped off the diving board 15 times. On the 6th day, Zig was a dream dog and he went to the carnival. On the 7th day, Zig was a dream dog and he went to the zoo. When Mr. Pooter and Tabby took Zig home for the last time, Mrs. Tiberi asked, "Was Zig a good lollipop?" And Mr. Pooter, who had brought her pecans instead of kiwis, smiled the biggest smile. He said, "Zig was a dream lollipop." Then he and Tabby said goodbye and went home and had the party.